And now for our next news special report.
Welcome to a special report on the continuing international crisis that demands your attention. Tonight, we delve into a rapidly escalating situation in the Middle East. Iran has issued a stern warning to Israel, hinting at a potential intervention if the conflict in Gaza persists. And then a strange twist. The stakes couldn't be higher. We're witnessing the unfolding of a dangerous chess game with global implications. A conflict between Hamas and Israel, already at boiling point, threatens to ignite into a full-blown regional war, dragging in not just Iran, but potentially the United States. As tensions soar, the world watches with bated breath. And tonight, we'll break down the latest developments from Iran's message delivered through the United Nations to the deployment of a second U.S. aircraft carrier, as well as 2,000 U.S. troops on the ground. Stick around tonight, because in the final thought, I'll tell you why the story matters to every American in the world. First, let's delve into the facts. The current strife between Hamas and Israel, which began on October 7th, has pushed the region to the brink. The situation is fluid, and every move carries enormous consequences. Iran, a longtime supporter of Hamas, has made its stance clear. While stating that it does not seek further escalation, Iran cautioned Israel that it might have no choice but to get involved if the Israeli operation in Gaza persists. This warning, delivered through diplomatic channels, underscores Iran's strategic interest in the region. If Iran were to enter the fray, directly or indirectly, it could spiral into a regional war, drawing in various players. Iran could support militant groups in Syria, leverage Hezbollah in Lebanon, or take direct military action. The implications are dire. Watch.
You know, Trey, I was scrolling through my X feed this morning, and I came across a tweet from you just about 30, 45 minutes ago that really stopped me down. And while you're talking about the attacks in the north, Trey, you said on X there's an understanding on the ground that Israel-Gaza could just be the beginning. Look at the amount of American military assets headed this direction, the evacuation of U.S. citizens by sea, Iranian foreign minister meeting with leaders of Hamas, uncertain days. And, of course, there's also, as you point out, the attacks from Hezbollah. What is the feeling of what is about to happen in the region?
Yeah, look, yesterday I'll point you to a meeting that took place in Doha between the foreign minister of Iran and Ismail Haniyeh, the leader of Hamas. This meeting took place in a very friendly tone. It was something that was seen across the Middle East as yet another indication that Iran had advanced knowledge of what took place in southern Israel, that massacre last weekend. But remember, Iran just yesterday said they will be forced to get involved in this fight if the ground operation into Gaza moves forward. The ground operation into Gaza is absolutely moving forward. It is not a question of if, but rather when. So when that does happen, Israel has to be braced for not only rocket and missile fire from Lebanon, but also the fact that Iran could fire on the Jewish state. They've got intercontinental ballistic missiles. They could hit Israeli targets. And it's a real concern for Israel as they try to work through the situation here in the south.
And as we're learning now, Raw Alerts is tweeting that the U.S. military is preparing to send roughly around 2,000 troops for potential deployment to support Israel against Gaza, and an update that, according to U.S. defense officials, the troops are assigned missions such as advising and providing medical support. They are not intended to serve in a combat role, according to the Wall Street Journal. So, not intended, but certainly could be drawn into it. Now, adding to the complexity, the Biden administration is actively trying to dissuade Iran and Hezbollah from joining the conflict. The U.S. response has been swift, sending an aircraft carrier group and fighter jets to the region. This deployment is a clear signal of U.S. commitment to maintaining stability in the Middle East. Israel, for its part, has maintained a heavy bombardment of the Gaza Strip following the initial Hamas attack. Violence is also surging along the Israel-Lebanon border and the occupied West Bank. These developments underscore the multifaceted nature of the crisis. A senior Israeli official has claimed that Iran is attempting to deploy weapons in Syria, specifically targeting northern Israel. This potential escalation in the north, combined with the ongoing conflict in the south, paints a grim picture of a multi-front war. Joshua Zarka, the head of strategic affairs for Israel's foreign ministry, affirmed these reports, confirming Iranian efforts to transport strategic weapons through Syria. This revelation raises alarms about Iran's intentions and its growing influence in the region. Recent events further highlight these concerns. Israel allegedly launched an airstrike against Syria's Aleppo airport, a known transit point for Iranian arms destined for Hezbollah. The attack damaged the airport, disrupting the flow of arms. Joel Rayburn, director of the American Center for Levant Studies, pointed out that Israeli strikes on Syrian airports suggest Iran's attempt to open a northern front. These strikes are indicative of Israeli determination to thwart such efforts. Syria's Damascus and Aleppo airports have historically served as conduits for Iranian weapons to reach Hezbollah. The powerful militant group operating in Syria and Lebanon poses a significant threat to Israel. Hezbollah has already launched multiple rocket strikes from Lebanon, further escalating tensions. Recent revelations also link Iran directly to Hamas' attack on Israel. Reports suggest that officers from Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard have been working with Hamas to plan the rocket assault for months. The Wall Street Journal reported this collaboration, further cementing Iran's role in the conflict. But then, in a sudden about-face at the United Nations in New York, Iran said the resistance can defend themselves. Iran's armed forces will not engage, provided that Israeli apartheid does not dare to attack Iran, its interests, and nationals. The resistant front can defend itself. A curious statement that only raises more questions to the authenticity of their intent. Is this a head fake to make the international community believe that they won't engage so resources are redirected? As tensions rise, the United States has taken decisive action. The Pentagon has ordered a second carrier strike group to the eastern Mediterranean Sea. Simultaneously, Air Force fighter jets are en route to the region. These moves are not intended for direct involvement in Gaza's conflict, but rather as a deterrent to Iran and its proxies. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin emphasized that these deployments aim to deter hostile actions against Israel and prevent the widening of the conflict. The presence of two formidable carrier strike groups sends a clear message. The United States stands firmly against any attempts to destabilize the region. Watch.
This is a time for resolve and not revenge, for purpose and not panic, and for security and not surrender. At President Biden's direction, we have moved urgently to respond to this crisis and to send a strong message of deterrence. The USS Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group is now in the region, led by the largest aircraft carrier in the world. We've augmented U.S. fighter aircraft squadrons in the Middle East, and the U.S. Department of Defense stands fully ready to deploy additional assets if necessary. As President Biden has said, for any country, for any group, or anyone thinking about trying to take advantage of this atrocity, to try to widen the conflict or to spill more blood, we have just one word: don't. The world is watching, and so are we. And we aren't going anywhere.
The USS Gerald R. Ford Strike Group, the first of the two carriers, arrived off the coast of Israel last week. Now the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower Strike Group is en route, reinforcing U.S. commitment to regional stability. This deployment showcases the U.S. Navy's significant capabilities in the region. The Eisenhower, the flagship of the carrier strike group, will be accompanied by a guided missile cruiser and two guided missile destroyers. This formidable force can project power and protect vital interests in the region. With more than 60 aircraft, including F-A-18 fighter jets, the Eisenhower bolsters U.S. capabilities in the Mediterranean. It remains unclear how long the USS Gerald Ford will stay in the region once the Eisenhower Strike Group arrives. However, the continued presence of these carrier groups sends a powerful message of deterrence. As we conclude this special report, one thing is crystal clear. The world is witnessing a high-stakes standoff in the Middle East. The escalation of the conflict between Hamas and Israel threatens to draw in regional powers like Iran and potentially embroil the United States in a complex and volatile situation. The deployment of a second U.S. aircraft carrier and fighter jets underscores the gravity of the situation. It's a clear message to Iran and its proxies that any attempt to exploit the crisis will be met with a resolute response. Why should everyone in America pay attention to this? Because a destabilized Middle East has far-reaching implications for global security, energy prices, and U.S. interests abroad. As the world watches, the need for diplomatic efforts to de-escalate and prevent a wider conflict has never been more urgent. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and keep an eye on this developing situation as we will. It's a stark reminder that events in distant lands can have a profound impact on our republic and its citizens. Congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. Now keep up your quest for truth with this next news report. And if you found our channel enlightening, join the millions who agree with you. Tap subscribe. Thank you for watching the Next News Network.